Welcome to the Danny Carlson Podcast, your resource for growing the business and mindset for a life of unrestricted freedom. Now here's your host, online marketing acrobat, Danny Carlson.
What is up, guys? This interview was super fascinating for me. It's with a very unique person who is just breaking all the rules of what society expects from someone who has just turned 50. His name is Christopher Plota, and he is a co-founder of Plotaverse, Plotograph, a bunch of these apps that will take photos and turn them into those fancy moving photos where you see like the clouds moving across or the wheels of the motorcycle spinning. And he's been really crushing it with the startup. He has recently moved to Bali too, so talk about breaking the standards of what a 50-year-old should be doing. He's got a tech startup and has moved to Bali. And on his platform, he has 2.5 million followers on his own account. That just gives you a scale of where he's at with this thing. He's partnering with Facebook and GoPro on some big promotions coming up soon. So needless to say, this guy's absolutely fascinating what he has managed to accomplish now. Having no tech background and spending 25 years as a professional photographer has really just shifted his life into the new century. So let's check out this interview with Christopher Plota. What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here with the Danny Carlson Podcast, and I am really excited for this episode just because this is someone that I just totally ran into at the co-working space, and it's got a fascinating company here that is about to do some really interesting stuff as well, some really big collaborations. And I'm just personally very interested in the software world right now. Just some of you may know, I'm just teaching myself how to code JavaScript just to see where it goes, just to see where I will be able to apply those skills in my own business or for a future business or whatever it is. So I'm just really fascinated to dive into the mind of someone who has built something in that space, and pick your brain really to see how you think. And we think on the same page as far as a lot of the conscious and personal development things as well, how to craft your mindset and how to really win the mental game. So maybe that's a good place to start. Do you feel like entrepreneurship in general, starting your own software business, has really forced you to accelerate your personal growth and deal with the insecurities and your mindset issues and everything like that?
Good question. I've been kind of on a spiritual journey my whole life, actually, even since I was a teenager, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my own studio when I was 21 years old, so my background is being a photographer. Fashion, advertising. I've been shooting for almost 30 years now professionally, and I've been shooting since I was 13. So my life is photography. And when I was 16 years old, I started listening to Zig Ziglar tapes, which is like back in the day.
Classic
kind of stuff. So whether it's business or my spiritual journey, whatever it might be, I think the two kind of go hand in hand. But when you do have a startup, and when you do, especially in the tech world, have a tech company, it's the Wild West. So you have to be really grounded. And so, reading books and listening to podcasts like this and stuff, of course, is very, very important. So, but the two, for me, go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I mean, it's personally been my experience that business will put you in so many situations that just like force all of your inner garbage, so to speak, to come up to the surface, and you have to deal with it, right? Like things like very difficult decisions or just really mentally challenging situations. Have you experienced that in the growth of your business that's just like really forced you to deal with some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just keeping your ethics in as far as doing things that are true for you. And we're really fortunate that we've been very much true to ourselves. So far, we're friends and family funded. We haven't really brought any VCs in. We're mostly funded from sales. We had a concept, I've had this concept actually for years, of animating still photos. And so our first app that we created was Plotograph, which I now have 2 patents on, actually, which is for animating photos. So coming from the photography background, I never really had a coding training. So I used to write my own websites in HTML, and I've been kind of like you are, playing around a little bit here and there. So knowing just enough to be able to kind of direct it, but knowing my space in photography and knowing that animating still images, especially with what was happening with social media and Instagram and Facebook and all these really cool things that are happening. The main passion actually was photography itself has been taking a hit, especially in the higher end photography markets. Our day rates were lowering quite a bit. Our budgets were moving from stills to video. So video's taking over. There's no doubt about it. So I created this with photographers in mind. How can I help photographers compete in the video world?
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about the origins of this company as well. Like from the sounds of it, you don't have like some big tech startup background, and you didn't have any VCs or a big chunk of money to start this thing. Was it profitable really from the start, like from the own revenue of the business? Like how did the first little bit look like? I'm very interested.
Okay, so I was living in Europe with my girlfriend at the time. We were in Florence, Italy, and then we moved back to the States. And I was living in New York. I was on 42nd Street. And I'd been out of the scene for a couple of years. And when I jumped back into the scene, from a couple of years to that point was completely different. The photography industry almost was like turned upside down. So I was looking at this going, okay, I can't do day rates, what I'm normally working with. I just can't go down, especially like living in New York City and needing really, a certain amount of income to live there. I had the opportunity of a big job was paying, coming back up for usage. As photographers, we do big advertising campaigns and we have usage for a certain amount of years. Well, what happens a lot of times is the usage will expire and they need to renew. So I did a job for MGM and the renewal came up and I used that money actually to start the code. That's how we started. And I actually sold, knowing at that point too, I sold all of my gear, my lights, like literally like most everything I sold in order to get the code started. So we rode on that for a few months. And then when we went live in beta, in August, I think it was like 2016 or something like that, we sold $230,000 worth of software in the first 2 weeks being in beta.
Wow.
Yeah. So because I just knew it was needed, wanted, and at that point, I wasn't really a fan of Instagram, being a professional photographer and like showing your pictures on the small device. But I knew I had to do it. So I jumped in, created a community on Instagram, and literally now, even to this day, I have a really amazing set of ambassadors and a really great community, both on Instagram and now it's extended over to Plotaverse. But the social part of it was really important of getting those sales and getting everything going. And we did have Trey Ratcliffe, who's a big influencer photographer. Initially, he was oh my God, this is amazing. He really got it initially. And he sent out an e-blast actually at our launch. And he said it was the most popular e-blast he's ever done. Actually is promoting and talking about, hey, look at this amazing new product on the market. So we've had a lot of good luck and we've been able to, like I said, control our company and not do things that other people maybe have to do because they bring in VCs and that sort of thing. Now, we do have some investors lined up right now to go next level, but now that we're established, we know what we're doing, we know what we want. It's really hard for anybody to pull us off without really hurting the company. And now, because we've pivoted so much and we know where we need to be.
Yeah, when you have that leverage too, is when you're a brand new startup company and you haven't really proven the company yet, then you're not in a very good position to get a whole lot of, very good investment. You're probably going to have to give up a solid amount of your company, but you have a proven product that what really caught my attention when I was talking to you that first time was that you pretty much do no marketing except for Instagram, right? There's a lot of very basic marketing things that you haven't even tapped into yet, but you already have built the company to where it is today. And so that is what we call a marketer's dream, where it's okay, so you just add on these foundational layers of marketing and it's just going to explode, because if you can have a business that's successful without a lot of the foundational marketing things, then it's just going to do so much better once you have the foundational marketing things, right?
Right, that's so true. And so as of right now, last year, I think I boosted one Instagram post. Literally, I think that's all let's try this. I don't know. So we're almost 4 years in on the company, and everything that we've done is organic for the most part. We have spent advertising money in the past. We've hired a few people who were really good at Facebook, and it didn't really prove to be good for us actually at the time. I don't know why. I don't know what the reasons are. You guys are the marketing specialists. It's funny because being in advertising and being a photographer and being a designer and creative director, I always thought like, oh, marketing, yeah, I could do that. You know, I'm a good sales guy for the most part, but no, it's like of all the company, of everything we do, I have my hand in a little bit of everything, but the marketing is like, you really need a pro. You really need somebody who has their finger in the heartbeat of what's going on. And then for us, we just haven't had the budget yet to be able to bring in somebody serious for marketing, or we haven't really felt comfortable enough to go, because the few little people that we've hired here and there, it didn't really work out. So there's that hesitation. But we're about to possibly get some big funding, so then we're going to be in a better position to really kind of go to town on this. But so far, everything's organic. Instagram was really good for us, up to when they changed their algorithm, then it's dead. Honestly, it's okay. I mean, we have a lot of ambassadors out there. It helped me get a few hundred ambassadors that help now spread things around. But before the change of the algorithm, it was like we were gaining thousands of followers a week and really gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear, like, what were the biggest challenges from that day that you launched the beta and to make $200,000 in 2 weeks to grow into where you are now? Because you don't, like, to my knowledge, you don't have like a business MBA, you don't have a whole lot of experience starting companies and all the things that come along with that. You were a photographer that then this is your first business, right?
Well, think about what you said. I had a business for 25 years. I was a photographer and I did millions of dollars as a photographer. But I'm not a natural businessman. I'm more of an artist. As you can see, I'm very more of an artist mindset. But I had to be good somewhat at the business part of it. You know, I wish I was better at it actually sometimes, but it is what it is. But that's why you have other people do those sorts of things. So you could just, you know, kind of, for myself at least, be creative. But starting a C Corp and having a C Corp through what we're doing through Plotaverse Inc. and through the apps and that sort of thing is completely next level. But I think that the 25 years of just being a freelance photographer and doing that, and I had production companies also with lots of employees and that sort of thing. But nothing really prepares you for the tech world.
It's a whole different beast.
It is, yeah.
Things operate on totally different principles to the point where you have like these giant VC firms that are willing to just give people millions of dollars with a 5% chance that it's actually going to work out, and that's how they generate their money, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But that's a really interesting point, that 25 years as a photographer, you just have to learn a lot of those skills anyways, just to make your own photography business work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I had a production company also with employees and that sort of thing. But so here's part of the thing that worked really well for us. Because I'm in production, because you know, whether it's doing TV commercials or advertising, whatever it is, I brought that passion, knowledge, and energy into the tech world, which is not normal. Because I'm a very energetic sort of person, and usually if I go to a tech event, it's more of a subdued sort of thing. A lot of times I see to where I kind of like mostly the things that we've done. Most people will say, "I've never seen that done before," or "That's not going to work," or whatever it might be. I kind of talk about it like, you know, you have an artist or a group that puts out an album, and their freshman album is like the classic of all times, because they didn't know what they were doing. Because they didn't know not to do that. So that's, I think, part of our success is we're doing things as a team that normally isn't done, but just based on instincts, based on knowing it's the right thing to do, based on knowing you have your finger on the heartbeat as far as what's happening in your industry. And a lot of people in tech, they can be successful copycatting. There's so many copycats out there that they just literally start a company to copycat something else. And if you're a good business person, you could possibly succeed off of that. And a lot of people do. But when you have a passion and a driving force behind having a knowledge of your industry, that overcomes a lot of what's happening a lot of times in other things as far as those other kind of copycat companies.
Totally. Well, like, clearly you wouldn't have had the runaway success in the very beginning if that wasn't the case. Right, 25 years in the industry, I'm sure you had a very solid understanding of what are the pain points of photographers and artists in the industry, and what is something that would be valuable to them, because that was you for 25 years.
Right. Definitely. And one thing that I like to promote is, if you're really good in your industry, if you were to told me 6 years ago you're gonna have a tech company and it's gonna be successful, or you're gonna be a tech guy, I'm like, what? I mean, I love technology, but I never thought I would have an app software company ever. You know, but here I am because of the knowledge of what I knew of my industry. So if you're out there and you have knowledge in whatever it might be, there's an app that maybe needs to be done with that you have knowledge for that could make you a lot of money. So I like to tell people, like think in that way. It's definitely possible.
Totally, and today it is much, much easier to start any kind of online business than it was 10 years ago. Like we're talking, 20 years ago now, like early 2000s, it would cost $100,000 plus to build a website that was any good,
Yeah.
And now you can have one for like $10 a month or $20 a month, just drag and drop around like anyone. My grandma can go build a beautiful website, right, for like $20 a month for something that used to cost $100,000. And
Right.
It's getting closer and closer with software as well. There's different software tools out there that you can, kind of like no-code softwares where you can get an app together with really not a whole lot of code. And developers are getting cheaper and cheaper. And this kind of thing where people that don't have a tech background can start a successful tech company with not 10 years of tech experience or like 5 years learning how to code in their mom's basement or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's true because it's about the idea. So that's the whole thing. What it always kind of comes down to is that literally what you just said about building a website is exactly, you could say the same thing for photography. Years ago, my highest day rate was $35,000 for the day to shoot. I don't know if that really exists anymore. So basically photography, you could pick up your phone now and shoot something that could be an ad for your small business or whatever it might be, or a billboard in Times Square, for God's sakes, which actually we see now too, which is kind of crazy. So photography is really taking a hit. A lot of industries have taken a hit. So how do you pivot? How do you take your knowledge of those years and go, So I see the future as far as what's happening here. How can I turn that into helping people and to helping myself create another company?
And totally. And the photographers who get left behind are now, charging way less than $30,000 for a day rate, I would imagine.
Yeah.
This podcast is being filmed on a phone that costs $1,000 and can shoot 4K video, which is way better than anything we would be shooting back then. It's pretty mind-blowing, really. Let's talk a little bit about where your company is currently going. You got some really cool collaborations coming up that you're telling me about, and lining up investors and everything like that. What's the vision for the next stage of your company?
So I actually just redesigned the whole app. Actually, we're going fully native iOS. It's been a web app up until now. For the past couple of years, it's been a web app. So we're going fully native iOS, which now will work on a Mac. So there's a lot of things happening that Apple's doing that's kind of changing the industry also. It can be frustrating, actually, but it is what it is, but it does make for a better product. So the redesign now sets up, instead of going head-to-head with Instagram, because right now we've had a main feed that's been pretty beautiful. It's HD, it's really for the pros, it looks amazing on an iPad, all of these things. The front of our site now, not the site, the front of the app I should say, is setting up as a magazine. So it's basically like different categories of editorial. We're sourcing the best influencers. So that way, let's say an influencer does this really cool story. They spend a lot of time doing it, whether it's a fashion story, whatever it might be. Instead of just doing a post on Instagram, we're saying, hey, let us feature you. We're taking the best of all the features. Let us feature you for a week before you go and post it on Instagram for no particular reason other than you're going to get a few likes and comments. So we're really celebrating the artist. One of the things that we do stand apart about than a lot of the other platforms is they're not really rewarding the artists. They're literally printing billions of dollars off the backs of all of these artists. So we've created this. We are artists ourselves. We've worked in the field. This is made by artists for artists. We've said that from the very beginning. So how can we help them monetize? How can we introduce the artists to the brands and the agencies? And now that the influencers have come in, whether it's a model or whatever they may be, there's a lot of amazing value in that too. So the whole world is changing. The past 10 years is flipped upside down, and predicting what's going to happen in 10 years from now is almost impossible, really. We just know what's going to happen now and in the next couple of years. But for Plotaverse, we're really pivoting right now into really bringing the agency's brands together with the artists and introducing each other, and then having tips and tricks and bringing a lot of amazing talent that I've known for decades to teach even the younger artists. And we all have something to teach each other, because the older guys don't know social so much. The younger guys know it really well. So everybody kind of coming together and helping each other has been really a great formula. So Plotaverse, that's our platform. That's what we're there for, bringing everybody together and giving a lot of great content and data. I'm going to actually interview you also for the platform, and I would be really excited about that too. Because now that we're here in Bali, it's just you walk around and there's so many influencers from so many different industries.
Everywhere, yeah.
It's like the hub. I've lived in the past 5 years. I've spent a lot of time in LA, New York, in Maui, Europe, wherever it might be. I've never seen anything better than what's happening here in Bali.
Yeah, I mean, I should introduce you actually to one of the podcast guests, Eric Haight. He's also, I think he just actually left Bali, but he has an app. It's, I think, closed. I don't think it's not public yet, but you can, for example, use Canggu. If you basically are doing a search on Instagram for all of the hashtags for anything around Canggu, anything that's location tag for Canggu, and people who have over a certain amount of followers, and then it's automatically going to DM all of these people with some kind of collaboration message for promoting your product in Canggu. So if you are a brand and you want to only target influencers who are like in Canggu right now that have over a certain amount of followers who have used this hashtag in their post or something like that, then you can automatically reach out and DM all those people and be put in touch with them. And it's really interesting to see the influencer marketing tools and strategies be shaped around this, because it's a pretty new thing, to be honest.
It is, yeah.
When Instagram was created, an Instagram influencer was not a thing. Influencer is only a term that's really come around in the last few years. People growing on these platforms. So what are the ways that you have seen the vision of influencer marketing and collaborated that into your tool to help connect these brands to the influencers and the artists and everything like that?
Yeah, well, it's still coming up. And a couple years ago, I got to meet Gary Vee, actually. And before he spoke at this event that I was at, I got to meet him backstage and show him Plotograph. It was like right kind of towards the beginning. And he was like, oh my God, man, look at this. This is so cool. And he ended up doing a shot. His team did a shot of us talking. I had no idea. And he did this post on Facebook and Instagram of us together. And then my guys, my influencers that I was bringing up, they're like, Troy, you're on with Gary Vee. And so just having that kind of exposure with Gary Vee and him being an amazing influencer was a good boost for us also. It all is short term though, how it works. You get that pop, but it doesn't really last. So you have to keep doing it and keep bringing the influencers in. But during the event, I actually asked Gary Vee that question. I said, what do you see happening with influencers? I think he flinched because none of us really knew. It's still a few years ago. We're talking about influencers. We don't really know can you really monetize? How can you track it? But now there's a company coming up right now. It's in startup mode, but they have a way of paying you per download, paying you actually when a sale is made, the influencer gets paid. So instead of like guessing, you're like, oh, I'm going to pay this influencer $3,000 for posts, whatever it might be, and then cross my fingers, which is what we've been doing a lot of. There's actually now ways of tracking that. And I think that's the future because, there's a lot of influencers who are good salespeople or a lot of influencers who you don't know how engaged their audience really is or if it's really even a true audience. So, but I think Instagram has done a pretty good job now as far as weeding a lot of that out. On Plotaverse, that's what we're doing. We're literally creating a hub for the influencers. You can post from here. We're actually partners with TikTok. And then one of the things that we talk kind of behind the scenes with is I have Facebook is about to feature us. And by the time this posts, more than likely that'll already happen, so I can tell you that. But it's a Facebook and GoPro collaboration. We've been working with GoPro from the very beginning, animating a lot of their ads. They've been animating themselves with our app. So it's talking about the success of motion art. I'm called the godfather of motion art. Anything that you're seeing looping, I actually have a show that goes through all the different types of motion art. It's my passion. It's all those images that we see that sits in between a still image and a full video, a traditional video that has a start and end point.
It's like you see like an image and like the woman's hair is like waving in the image or something like that.
And it goes forever, basically. Yeah. It never stops. So that realm is called motion art. And that realm is very desirable for advertising online, especially for like even small businesses, because they don't have a budget to hire a full video crew to shoot the video, do the edit, so they can easily go in and animate, whether it's for a cafe or a hair salon or whatever it might be. You can get a lot more attention. For past couple of years, Facebook actually promotes us as the top 5 photo apps for their whole entire ad platform, because they know the numbers. They know when you animate an image, things really, you get 3 to 5 times more engagement. So if you're going to spend the time and effort on advertising or running an ad, animate it. Don't run it as a still.
Yeah, I'd be interested to talk more with you about that as well, because one thing we're testing with our clients right now on Amazon, there's something called enhanced brand content descriptions, which is just like, it's instead of a regular text description halfway down, it's got a bunch of pictures in there, pictures mixed with the text. And we found a way to basically make like a GIF file, like a moving GIF file, but it has to be a JPEG file to upload it to the Amazon description. But we found a way to make moving JPEG files that look like a GIF file, and like almost no one is doing this. I have only seen like a couple brands doing this on all of Amazon in many years. So it'd be interesting to see if there's some potential there that we can create some moving images that we can still upload to Amazon's platform. That would be a massive advantage as far as getting attention. I
can help a lot with that, because there's been for the past several years, doing code injection or doing workarounds to get the looping files in, whether it's a GIF or a looping MP4. Actually, a lot of times too, you can do looping MP4s with code injection. So any way that you can trick the system to get that image moving, you're going to get more attention, you're going to get more sales.
Totally. And let's end the debate here once and for all. Is it GIF or is it GIF?
Okay. For me it's GIF, and for you it's GIF. The guy who supposedly founded this whole thing in like 2011, 2013 or something like that, confirmed that in his mind it's GIF. So it's
the founder.
The guy of all guys, I guess, he says, "Oh, it's GIF." But I've been saying GIF for like 25 years, so I'm just gonna keep saying GIF. It's just so weird for me to say GIF. But yeah, so I think that you're at the winning side in this, just so you know.
Yeah. Boom. GIF.
GIF. You say tomato, I say tomato.
Team GIF, comment in the comments below, because you rock. Boom.
Yes. Just get them moving, whatever you do. Now, and to move beyond the GIF is looping MP4s is where you want to be, because the GIF now is such an old style way to present.
It's pretty clunky. Like it's
very clunky.
It's frame by frame, like frame rate of like 2 frames a second or whatever it is, right? And I've seen what you're talking about, and it looks very fluid and it looks very beautiful, and that it's done graphically, I would assume, right? Is this so for the nerdy people out there, if I'm a Facebook marketer, am I going to upload this as a video ad onto Facebook? This is technically an MP4 video file, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so if I'm embedding this somewhere on the internet, this is going to be like a video embed. I would upload the MP4 file to YouTube or Vimeo, and then I can embed that on my website or something like that. Are there any other ways that works? Is that basically it? You're uploading like a video embed?
Yeah, a video MP4. You don't really want to use YouTube, preferably. Vimeo, you can. They do have an option now for it to loop. If you can just load it with code injection to loop, that's usually the best. Unless I know some people like to, have people click out and go back to YouTube. But that's been, for me, I'll have to check into it to see if you could loop them now. Maybe there's a certain seconds that it will, but they always have. YouTube's my last one I'd want to use probably.
Yeah, and so
it's a little clunky.
Yeah, and I'm guessing too the advantage of this is that it's a pretty small video file, right? Like how many seconds of loop do you need before it just loops over again?
Great question. So for our platform, you could actually have a half a second loop. So think about the size of that MP4. It's very, very small. So if it's served from Plotaverse, you could have a half a second. I believe Instagram and Facebook you have to be at least 3 seconds. So 3 seconds, and then back in the day, also when every time a video would play, you get a new view. So it was always a good thing to keep your videos at 3 seconds, because somebody sits there and looks at it for 30 seconds, you're getting a lot of views.
On Facebook too? On Facebook,
I'm not sure. You set it to loop, absolutely. No, Facebook will automatically loop your video under 30 seconds. So if you post a video under 30 seconds, it will loop on its own.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I know the marketers listening to this right now, their brain's turning. It's like, how can I get 5 million views of my video really quickly?
Right, exactly. And they keep changing the algorithm. They keep changing things. So, but that's generally what you want to do, is have your video under the 30 seconds. And I usually keep them as low as I can. There's no reason to really make it longer unless you have some audio on top of it or something like that, that dictates that. But if you do have audio, just keep it under 30 seconds so it'll keep looping.
Oh, absolutely. That's fascinating, man. We're going to have to talk about this more for sure. But I want to talk about as well, like what are your plans when it comes to the investment? Like, why did you choose to try to bring on some investors? You've bootstrapped this company up to where it is so far without the need for investment. What is your reasoning behind looking for investors right now?
There are times where we did need investors, and they tried, they're as crooked as can be. Basically, that's our experience, is they hold you on, they'll keep you going for you go in because you need money in the next few months, and then you're flying in, you're flying out, and all of a sudden you're past the mark where you really needed the money, and then they start squeezing you. So at least that's been our experience a couple times. So we're very fortunate to have good sales, manage our money right. And right now we have investors who I think that could be good partners also, that could be really, specifically designed to know what we need to do to get to the next level. We do need money. Now, the other thing that's happening to us is we have copycats out there. There's a app called Pixaloop. Now, if you see this app out there, I think they've done over $10 million in the past year, maybe more now. They're literally doing everything they can do to bury us with advertising. And literally, I'll say something publicly, and they'll implement it. No ethics whatsoever. They're literally just a copycat machine. Yeah,
well, that's the tech world in a bubble there for you. The tech world that's kind of the name of the game a lot of the time. Yeah. Like Facebook and Instagram crush tech companies on a daily basis.
Apple does too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Totally. And so is that part of the reason why you're looking for this next round of investors, is to just really keep up with the growth of Pixaloop, the company that is just really aggressively trying to do everything that you do?
Yeah, basically. So I've got to give up part of our company because of people who have literally no ethics whatsoever, blatantly on top of it too. So it's fine. It is what it is. Business is business. And we've done a really good job up to this point. And it's like when you pivot so much and you're like, thank God we didn't get money then, because we would have locked in and we would have promoted the crap out of that. But right now, where we are and where we're going and the future of what's happening with apps. So one of the things with Plotaverse is we have one download that has 5 apps. So we're not nickeling and diming. Now, I could actually release separate apps. I've been told to do that many times. Why don't you just release Plotograph as one app? Plotamotion, all of the apps that we have. But I really want this to be a one-stop shop. You have your Adobe suite, which we all have, and it's amazing. And Adobe's like the granddaddy of all granddaddies in the software world for creatives. But what we've created is for people who don't want to take the time to learn After Effects, take the time to learn Premiere, take the time to learn Photoshop. We made it very easy for you to create content, push it out very quickly, and be as creative as you can be. At a very good price, too, on top of it. We're $20 a year for the app. And the price is going to go up. We are going to raise the price once we do the redesign the next couple of months. So if you haven't gotten it yet, it's a good time to go in. But we make a really good value for people. And if it costs me money to do that, I'm okay with it, because I love our community and I love for people to be able to afford it. And as we go, then over the next year, the features that we're building in the Plotaverse and all the different apps that we have are literally going to go toe-to-toe with the top industry leaders for sure.
Yeah, well, and you're playing a game too that has a very big potential market, right? And it's pretty rare that a company can just come into the space and just take a massive market share, just turn into a $100 million company, and you play in a space where it is potentially a $100 million opportunity, right?
Way bigger. Yeah.
And getting to that level without investment, without just really ramping things up, good luck, right? I've seen a few companies, I know Zoho Software Suite, they have reached 9 figures, just like totally self-funded and everything like that. But it took them 15 years.
Right.
And now, like, anyone who tried to launch in the same space as them, that space is just so saturated. Like, they kind of got in very early,
yes.
right? And so I think it's a smart thing you're doing, taking on investment at this stage. You got the competitors who are just like, they're gunning for that same $100 million, $1 billion opportunity that you're gunning for.
Right.
You take something like Adobe Suite, from the sounds of it, and turn it into something that's accessible for everyone that has a smartphone in their pocket, which is even here in Indonesia. There's everyone walking around with a smartphone in their pocket that's capable of taking really good photos, and someone in Indonesia can afford $20 a year out of their salary, right? Yeah. It's just so much more accessible, price-wise and functionality-wise. It's going to be really cool to see how this plays out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, we're definitely, and because we haven't gone the VC route yet, and because we run very lean, we're able to do that. We're able to be very competitive with our pricing. We don't have like big buildings we're paying for or whatever it might be. I'm actually right now, I'm touring the world with my backpack, my camera, and my laptop. You know?
Yeah.
and actually it's the most successful thing I've done so far. You know, especially because going to destinations that have a lot of influencers, there's a bond. You know, there's like a brotherhood of, or sisterhood or whatever it might be. You know, it's just, you have a lot of like-minded people who have the finger on the heartbeat of what's really going on. A lot of times you'll find, even if you're sitting in New York City, you're doing the day-to-day and the grind. Everything's so accessible now that it's actually better to be out and about and to meet people and travel around different destinations. And as a photographer and as a content creator, being able to travel the world and then use these images for our platform is just, I literally am doing my dream job right now.
Yeah, that's pretty epic, man. Well, we're sitting here in Bali, like we're only like 300 meters away from the beach right now with this co-working space. It's
with epic waves.
Epic waves. We're surrounded by a lot of really awesome, delicious, healthy food restaurants for a very good, affordable price. It's not bad out here. It's definitely not bad.
Right, exactly.
The last thing I'd like to dive into is I'm very interested by like how lean is your team right now? Like what kind of team do you have that's helping you with this project, and who's doing what, and what are what's kind of your role in all of this?
Oh, good question. Yeah. I have my finger in just about everything. We have our dev team is in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria. The name of the company is called Dreamix. So if you're considering doing anything like this, Dreamix, I call them the dream team. Literally, they're like family. These guys are amazing. I actually was in Bulgaria before I came here, and I got to speak over there and meet with the team and get them all excited for the new year and stuff. But I would say we maybe have, between all of us, maybe about a dozen of us right now. And it's maybe been up to 18 or 20 and, fluctuates as we need. But now that we're 4 years in, it's actually gotten much easier. Things are so much easier. The first couple of years, it's like, you're not going to get a lot of sleep, but it's so fun and you're so passionate about it. It's just an amazing life. It's fantastic.
And totally. And so 12 team members there. Would you say that your role is more like CEO style or more CTO or what is, you guys don't need a CMO because you haven't ramped up your marketing yet. Maybe that's one of the next hires. But where do you think your role most fits into that? Are you doing a mix between CTO and CEO stuff, or is it one or the other?
It's kind of a mix. Technically, my co-founder is the CEO. And but both of us do kind of wear a lot of different hats. Only one person, I guess, at one time could have the post as the CEO. Initially, for the first few years, I was the CEO. And I'm kind of more of the creative type, and numbers are not really necessarily my thing. So I could hey, why don't you be the CEO? Yeah. I don't want the pressure of this right now. But whether I designed the whole entire platform, we have 2 patents on it now. So that's the other thing. There's a lot of copycats that are out there, and they literally are just copycatting our patents, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's things that are coming up down the line that we have to handle. But yeah. I don't know. Be ready. If you have a tech company, you're going to wear a lot of hats and you're going to do a lot of different things for sure. But
yeah. Totally. So yeah, you say a little bit more on the technical side of things, of you're kind of responsible for the direction of where the software is going, and making those kind of decisions.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, obviously it goes all the way across the board. You like got to different on operations and strategy and all these different things, like any good startup founder will. But yeah, it's interesting to hear that like someone who spent 25 years as a photographer with no technical background is just like really able to head up a very technical like CTO sort of role in a company like this. It's really cool.
Well, so when you say CTO, I literally wouldn't tell you. Yeah, like the last thing that I just said was CTO, because I probably drive our coders crazy, because once again, I part of our success is I don't know. Here, let me give you a story. So early on, Apple actually came to us when they saw what was going on, and they said, Troy, what did you do here? They said, you're going to change the world of photography as we know it with what you created here. And I said, oh, I know that, and I'm fully aware of that, and let's roll. Mm-hmm. So we ended up initially making an iPad app, because our very first apps was Mac and PC. It was desktop only. I didn't know that the devices on mobile would work, so we made an iPad app, and my team, towards the very end of it, I'm on Xcode, I'm in the back end, I'm like, okay, we're getting close, we're almost there, it's working really good, we're super excited to launch. And I go, guys, I'm like, okay, so it says iPhone, iPad, universal. What is the universal? Like, what happens like when we do the export? What happens if you click the universal? No, don't even mess with it. That means it would work on an iPhone too, but no, it won't. And I go, click that fucking button. I literally said, click that button, you export it, stick it on the phone, you tell me what happens. A half an hour later, they're like, oh my God, it works. It works. Yeah. They didn't know that it would actually work on the phone. So with a little variation, with a little bit of adjustment, we launched first on the iPad, and then that went off the charts. And then a couple weeks later, we launched on the iPhone, and we shot up to #1 in the App Store. We were literally...
Yeah, that's such a great example of that. It's like, because if you knew what you're doing,
right,
you wouldn't have fucking done it.
Right, exactly. You'd be like, well, I don't know. We can't really click that button because it might blow your phone up or something. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. So to say as a CTO, that's part of my success. And I, like I said, I possibly drive my guys crazy because I'm asking them to do what they think are impossible things, but it pushes them next level. It pushes them to do things that they didn't know actually they could do. I probably could say there's at least dozens of examples of where they were trying to back me off, and I said, no, go for it, or try this, and they figure it out and they do it because they're so good. They're the guys that make anything happen. It's amazing. I'm sure it frustrates them sometimes just because I'm pushing the limits of what's possible, but it's fun that way.
Yeah, well, a little history lesson for those of you listening there. Someone you may have heard of named Bill Gates. I went through a similar thing when personal computing came out, and all of the people who were the biggest world's experts at computers at the time just thought that it was some dumb fad. They're like, no, computers are for B2B and they're for this and for this, and they're working for IBM or whatever. But like personal computers came out, and young little Bill Gates, who had just been coding thousands of hours since he was a little kid and at universities late at night, came in there and was like, whatever, this looks cool, like I know how to do this and I'm going to create this, because he didn't have those preconceived notions of what computers were, or like this is how the computer industry works. He had never worked in the computer industry. He's
right.
Like, I've got the coding skills and I'm just going to create this thing because it's, here's an opportunity.
Right, yeah. And that's why don't ever tell yourself, I wouldn't know how to do something like that, because it could be that you could be even better at it than somebody who's established, who's learned all the rules. Throw the rules out the window. There are no rules. There are some physical possibilities. But so just kind of bending the rules kind of always is a good thing in my book.
Oh, totally. And also, like, what are your, like, you're out here in Bali and cruising with your laptop. Like, what's next for you? Or are you just gonna be hanging out in Bali and just crushing it with your app in Bali? Or what's like the vision for that?
I don't know, actually. Okay, so I turned 50 a couple months ago. Okay, I turned 50, and I'm like, I'm 50. How did that happen? I'm still active, of course, But then towards the end of the year, I'm like, hey, the decade's ending. I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend and putting a backpack on and going to initially Rome. So I've got my backpack, my camera bag, and my computer bag. I go to Rome, I'm like, fuck, it's cold here. What am I doing in the wintertime in Rome? Oh shit. So I spent a few weeks there. I went to Bulgaria, met with the coders. I was like, hey, I'm going to Bali. Like why am I going to torture myself in Europe right now? So I'm going to wait to go to Europe during the summertime. But yeah, that's another story as far as my co-founder was my girlfriend. So that's been quite interesting and an interesting process, actually. We should, maybe another time we'll chat about it.
I was going to say, that could be an entire episode in itself right
Definitely.
there. And, maybe we'll sit down and actually go into that. Because that's...
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a whole thing to unwrap right there. Girlfriend, co-founder, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. And then, so, I mean, as I think everyone listening to this who is around your age wishes they could have a midlife crisis that's fucking half as cool as what you're doing. Like, that is like, everyone else is having crazy midlife crises. You're like, I'm going to found a technology startup and move to Bali.
Yeah,
I'd say you're fucking winning, man.
Thanks. I would say I'm winning right now too. But here's the thing: is I would like to teach other people how to win because I'm here going. I never thought I would go to Bali. I've traveled the world as a photographer. I've been so many places: Iceland, all over Europe, and Alaska, and Mexico, and Hawaii, whatever it might be. But I never really thought I would make it east, and I never really had a massive desire. I always thought Bali was kind of cool. But now that I'm here. And I realize how easy it is. This is not difficult. If you're sitting in Manhattan paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month for rent, and you're working from your laptop, please know that there's another life that's so amazing you can't even understand. And this whole digital nomad community as far as what's going on out here. And also to know that you're actually in better position to make connections and to better your business and to better yourself as an artist or marketer or whatever it might be.
Yeah, Bali just really attracts people who are just on a certain track. Like there is more people who are conscious entrepreneurs. People are doing really cool tech companies and marketing companies and all these crazy ideas. Very successful people in e-commerce and just movement artists too. Like lots of really high-level yogis and acrobats and stuff like that. Like in town right now, there is a Cirque du Soleil acrobat who's my favorite bass that I really look up to, and he just comes here to hang out for a month because it's an epic place that just attracts a lot of these types of people. So, I mean, that's what's kept me around here for a year so far. Is
cool.
It's a small little beachside town that just attracts exactly the type of people that I want to surround myself with. It's like a magnet for people like this.
In the late 90s, mid to late 90s, South Beach, Miami was the scene for fashion. You would literally on every corner, there was a shoot with like a famous photographer, supermodel, all over the place. And there was this vibe that you knew maybe we thought it would last forever, but it doesn't. And maybe here in Bali, I think it's almost even towards the beginning, there's a lot of construction happening here, and there's a lot of room for growth and to establish this as a real hub. But it has that feeling of South Beach. It has that feeling of like, is this real? Like, like just the beautiful women running around and like the
everywhere.
beach and held it everywhere. Guys, I'm just telling you right now, stay in New York or LA. Or
Nothing over here. Don't even think about it.
We got to handle it over here. No, but seriously, it really is like something like I never knew existed. Honestly, it's really amazing.
Heck yeah, man. Well, this has been a really, really fun conversation for me. And I know there's definitely another episode that we could pull out of this somewhere too, because you're into like so much of the really cool conscious stuff. You have such an interesting background as far as just what you've accomplished so far, and your vision for your company going forward is really interesting. So yeah, really appreciate your time on here. If people want to learn more about your app or what you do, where's a good place for them to do so or reach out to you online?
Instagram at Plotaverse, or just go to the App Store and type in Plotaverse. And download the app. We have a free day 7 trial. You'll check it out. It has a lot to offer, and we're always open for suggestions and ideas. And that's what I'm doing is like literally on a daily basis, how can we make it better? What can we do to provide more content? And now that we have a magazine style, I can update it on a daily basis. I literally, if there's something hot, cool that's happening, we're adding design to it now also. So the Canva app, and there's these other apps that are out there that have design elements, we're adding that in also in the next couple months. So it's a one-stop shop. If you do content, it's literally the app for you for sure.
Yeah, and Bali's the perfect testing ground for this year.
It
like
sure
you said.
is.
So Awesome, man. Appreciate you coming on here, and more good conversations to come soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers. And if you haven't already, guys, you can check out the show notes for this podcast at dannycarlson.co. Any of the links that we mentioned here are going to be there. And I'd really appreciate it if you go leave a review, and specifically a 5-star review, or else I cry at night myself. Every time I get something that's not a 5-star review, I go buy a tub of ice cream, and I cry onto the ice cream, and the ice cream gets all salty, and it's really gross. So you guys don't want to see that. Leave a 5-star review, and everything will be okay.
Thanks for joining us on the Danny Carlson podcast. For resources mentioned in this episode, visit dannycarlson.co.